many different trends come and go, and a lot of our customers are actually asking us today, or telling us today, that the mainframe is experiencing higher workloads, increasing number of transactions going through. And I was wondering, is the same trend, are you experiencing the same trend at Credit Suisse? And also, what do you think is driving that trend?
Yes, perfect. This is a very nice and interesting question. And what is driving the trends and the workload? Basically, as we know from capacity planning, each customer, if he is relatively successful, the mainframe is growing about 10 to 15% per year. This is about normally the same increases. We passed last year, the first time, the 1 billion online transactions per month, and we have about 2.8 or 3 billion batch shops per month. And in general, who is driving this? I think one part is definitely also this online banking and this part, and also the new rules in European markets. So we get IMS transactions, heavier transactions because of all these regulations. And basically, the distributed part, I say always, if they install their distributed applications, finally all the data will go to the mainframe. For example, we have in our electronic archive, it is growing for year over year, and we are actually at the number of documents is 37 billion documents in our electronic archive.
So now, turning more to the webcast on the 26th, we're going to be sharing what your team does, the best practices and the success which they've had. Obviously, we can't go through all of this right now, but what would be the one or two key highlights in terms of the successes your team has achieved?
Yes, nice question. I think the three topics that, put it this way, is first, we have a top-bottom approach. That means we want to be proactive, we want to see the behavior, to compare month by month or what is the last 15 months. And if we figure out any variances, then we need a tool like Strobe to go in more detail and to figure out who is using what resources. This is really our topic. Next part is also that we deliver or bring transparency to the top management. That means we inform them also by our monthly report what applications are using what. Then you can also relate the cost. If you know we need so much resources, this has definitely something to do with cost. And the next part is that we always try to improve and to get new information and not to, I think that there's a Chinese speech that means don't be afraid of little steps, but be afraid of stagnation. And this we try to avoid.
Excellent. And you mentioned there that you keep top management informed. I'm really interested in that. So, which levels of management, how high up do you go? Who do you keep informed? And what are they most impressed with? What sort of results have you shown them and demonstrated to them?
Yes, so management information is going up to the CIO and to all top management and also to the chief architects. And had a few months ago a meeting with the chief architect, and he is very delighted about this information because this brings transparency to the management and to the chief architect. As already mentioned, what domain or what applications are the main consumer and why we have this many transactions and so on. So it's very appreciated, I think, from the top management.
So when taking a proactive approach to performance tuning, a number of organisations are spending more time looking at flattening their peaks and pulling down their 4-hour rolling average. Can you explain why that is important to you and the impact it has for the bank?
Yes, it's also highlight topics for our rolling average, and everyone asks, can you easily explain this? And it's, in my opinion, really easy. With the introduction from IBM or vendors to introduce licenses, software licenses. Then they introduce also the charges are done on the peak value. It's a fair approach because normally you have to install the mainframes according that you can run your peak workload through the system in a performant way. So, and now also the customer is in charge and want to try to keep the peaks low, because if you have one peak, let's say for 4-hour rolling average at 100, and so overall 29 days you have only a resource consumption of 30, then you have to pay for this for 100, and 29 days you get the machine for free, but you don't use it. Therefore, we go to try to make the peak as low as possible. This is good for the cash out value for Credit Suisse. That means there are direct savings, but we have to take care, and this is sometimes not so easy, that all high performance or key applications are still running perfect in terms of performance during the high peak times.
So I can see all of these peaks, that will keep your team very busy. And so obviously there's a number of different tools which they use. Can you, explain how valuable Strobe is within your team and how often they use it?
Yes, especially we are actually in let's say a project to reduce against these peaks, and its first point is to figure out when is the peak. We know it is normally between, let's say, 9 to 12 as at each customer, and maybe from 1 p.m. to 4 or 5 p.m. But this is one part. But then you have to figure out what jobs, what transactions are running, and then in this backbone of our strategies, and if we know these transactions are running, then we say, okay, let's take the top 50 transactions which have high consumption. Then we go with Strobe and make the measurements, and then we get the detailed information we need to optimize, or we figure out this is already optimized, at least in our understanding. So Strobe is for us mandatory.
So it's obvious you get some great results from Strobe, and I know you're also a fan of iStrobe. Can you tell us a little bit more about why iStrobe is an important solution, and also who uses it within the organization? Is it just your team, or have you expanded that out?
Yes, iStrobe is, we like it very much because of the presentation form and because of the help function, and especially for our new colleagues which are coming from the new universities, they like it also very much. And we use iStrobe randomly in everyone. You can leverage the tool he is trained, and that means developers have to use iStrobe if they make changes in the application to make it before and after scenario, and also young talents have to use it to see if they program this or this. They should get an idea that everything what they are doing basically needs some resources, and resources are expensive.
So it looks like you get great use from Strobe and also iStrobe, especially the newer generation who are joining your organisation. I was wondering, out of the whole family of the Strobe products, can you talk us through an example of where you've deployed this technology and what were the benefits from that particular exercise?
Yes, we have, I can come up with actually a practical example. With the support of Strobe and iStrobe, we figured out for a relatively complex application a specific module where it's still in testing phases, where we can get improvements via to make SQL a little bit different. The application or the module itself was not changed for years. Therefore, it was programmed at state of the art 10 years ago, but we still figured out the module, and it is used from 160 components. So with our approach to calculate it, it has, according to our IT price article list, it has a value, at least an first estimate of per year from greater 500,000 Swiss francs.
So, Mr. Sean, that was thank you very much for answering all of those questions. It was very interesting to hear how proactive you are in tuning your mainframe. I think the answers are very insightful, and my colleagues will be very interested to hear your responses. So, and also it's very nice to see that Strobe and the family of products are being well utilised at Credit Suisse. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you to you.
It's been great talking to you, and I look forward to the webcast, which is coming in a few weeks' time.
Okay, thank you. And thank you also that you give us the possibility to use the customer sessions.
Great.